All right, we're live in tonight's Nite Cap episode and our passive income podcast. We're going to talk about going from hustler to CEO, how to scale your land business. You started out grinding, hustling deals, wearing every hat, doing all the things, but at some point, that grind becomes a bottleneck. If you're doing everything, you're limiting your growth. Tonight, on Land Geek Nite Cap, we're talking about how to break free from the freelancer trap and scale your land business into a real machine. How do you transition from solo operator to business owner? I'm joined tonight by handsome Rob, John Burnett, professional land investor, land investing expert. John, where are you, man? It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, I'm on a ranch in southern Idaho. It is beautiful out here. So I'm connected via Starlink. So it's great. We're very peaceful.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, the Nite Cap OG dude, buddy, land investing expert Scott Bossman. Scott, how are things in Onalaska?
Things are great.
Alaska or Onalaska?
It's on Alaska, but I like how you say
Onalaska.
I like how you say Onalaska. It's kind of cute.
Right.
Things are going great here. Glad to be here.
And if you don't know me, I'm Mark Podolsky, also known as the Land Geek from thelandgeek.com. And what do we specialize in, fellas? How to make passive income without renters, rehabs, renovations, or rodents, total freedom. But let's talk about going from hustler to CEO, how to scale your land business. So, story time, I guess. Let's start with handsome Rob. JB, when you first started out, what were all the things you were doing? How'd you find your freedom?
I mean, I feel like when I started, we were doing even more things than people have to do now when they start. Like we were stuffing envelopes and doing mail merge and Microsoft Word. I had, I think, 15 Craigslist accounts that I was managing and like posting in all of these accounts and like managing phone numbers for all of them and all kinds of stuff. It was a lot. And Val and I, we would get up early in the morning and have time together, and then we get in the land business, and then I'd work on it during lunch break. But she would handle kind of the interactive side with people. So she would interact with people interested in selling their property that responded to our offers and people who were interested in buying our property. And then I did everything else basically in terms of identifying markets, sending out mail, doing due diligence, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of what it looked like for us in those early months of land investing.
So you're hustling.
Yeah.
You're hustling.
Yeah, it was a grind. It was. And we had we would work and we turned it all off at 8:00 and we had no land times, but we had to commit to it consistently in those early months. So
I love it. Dude, buddy, how about you? How'd you start as the hustler?
Yeah, I think it was just it was a different time back then, right? It was 10 years ago already. And I would just say that the tools were not as good. And we were doing more work at the time, right? And I have a favorite story about this, Mark. When I went into coaching in 2015, Scott Todd was my coach, right? And I still did a lot of deals, but I was doing most of the work with everything. There just wasn't as big of a push to outsource. There weren't as many tools to outsource. There weren't, as many software platforms. I mean, as John said, we were licking and sticking and stuffing our own envelopes, right? Because we didn't have a data tree at the time. And we would start with these county lists that were 30,000 line items long, and you'd have to scrub them down to 100 line items. It would take you hours to do that. But when I went through coaching, and I give Scott Todd a hard time about this all the time, Scott Todd's first recommendation to me to become more efficient in the land business and to automate was to use a letter folding machine in the corner of my office. And honestly, that took away so much. That saved me so much time because I was no longer tri-folding all of these envelopes. I throw 100 letters in there and hit the machine, and the machine was so loud, Mark, like you could hear it across the house. And cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. And that was my first automated tool in the land business. So things have just changed so much in the last 10 years where we don't have to monkey around with that stuff anymore. We can send out mailers in a matter of rather than 5 hours. And we're so spoiled nowadays. We uphill both ways to school and back.
You guys are so spoiled. When I started,
yeah, right.
There was nothing. I was doing everything, and I remember going. I actually write about this in Dirt Rich too, about scaling a land business. I remember meeting my buddy Ori for coffee, and he sold his company for like over $360 million, and he's mentoring me, and I'm kind of humble bragging about my business, and I'm telling him, I'm doing this, and I'm going to that, and then I'm going to Kinko's, and I'm printing out the map, and I'm FedExing them their buyer package, and it looks great. And then in the afternoon, I'm taking buyer calls, and I'm closing deals, and then I'm going to, you guys probably don't even remember this, like Daylight software, and I'm creating, these these purchase sale agreements, and the promissory note, and the land sale contract. I'm like, man, I'm killing it. I'm like, this business is fantastic. He's like, stop. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, first of all, you're not an entrepreneur and you don't have a business. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you telling me you're doing all these things. He's like, what happens if you stop? What happens to your so-called business? He's like, you got a job. And if something happens to you, your family, that's gone. I'm like, oh, well, what do I do? He's like, well, you got to systematically get yourself out of all these jobs and create a real business. He's like, a business is something bigger than you. It's going to survive beyond you. And so it took 5 years. 5 years. It was like flipping on a switch to start systematically doing this. And I remember hiring my first VA, Janie from South Carolina. And I remember giving her like I don't know if it was a credit card or I forgot how I did it, but she was able to buy paper and envelopes, and she hand wrote all the offers on the envelopes. And that was like my first taste of due diligence before, like, there's no LG Pass and automation and all that. So it's a thing, right? Like today, to scale, it's so much easier. There's already ready, trained virtual assistants around the world that understand that business. There's already software out there that can automate so much of this. Like, you just upload a list in the LG Pass and it does your mailing for you. It's incredible. So let's talk about Handsome Rob, the first thing that you outsourced. What did that feel like?
Yeah, the first thing I outsourced it was like a single project. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had something to do with data, like going in and getting some data from me from a county. And it felt great. Like I did it because Scott told me to. But the first role that I really outsourced was intake manager for me. And that was like transformative.
Can you describe what an intake manager does?
Yeah, so intake manager is somebody who effectively manages so when we send out our offer letters and those come back, the intake manager manages the deal from the point of response to the point of acquisition. So they're engaging with the property owner. They're negotiating on my behalf. They are doing basic due diligence, and they're escalating things to me if they're unsure about something. But they're trained enough where, for the most part, they're able to just kind of push through without me. And so that was enormously beneficial. I hit a point in my own business where I was just starting to burn out. And I came to a boot camp, and we did a round table at that boot camp, and everyone at that round table just like beat me over the head one by one and said, you have to outsource, you have to outsource. And so I left and I outsourced, and it was definitely a massive transformative moment for me.
Amazing. Would you say that colors were more vibrant? Food tasted better?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are those, when you delegate a large chunk of the business, like there are just portions. I don't know, like for me, I remember when the big one for me was sales. When I delegated sales and then like continued to sell, I remember sitting down on a date with Valerie, and I was like, I feel like I just like retired. Like, I don't know what I do anymore. It's like Office Space. Like, what would you say you do here? And I was like, I don't even know anymore. You know, it was crazy. It is like each of those things that you hand off, it just makes your life a little bit lighter.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is the dream of scaling, is what do I do?
Yeah.
And that's something we can talk about. But dude, buddy, for you, what was the first thing that you outsourced?
I mean, the first minor thing was just due diligence. Actually, no. The first thing I outsourced was compiling a list. And back then, again, we didn't have tools like DataTree, so I hired a VA over in the Philippines to screen scrape for me. Right, so go to the county GIS website and just click on every parcel to get me all the parcel information I would need for mailing. That VA still works with me to this day, Mark, 10 years later. She was a rock star. She would get me 100 names in an hour for $5 an hour back in the day. And
wow.
So she was my list compiler, and she organized my list right from the get-go. So that was the first thing I outsourced, which was amazing. And it's pretty neat because she's been with us now for 10 years doing different things in the business. And it's fun because you bring people on your team, you establish relationships with them. She's over in the Philippines. She has impeccable English, right? She's a motivated worker. And so that was my first thing I outsourced. And to this day, she's still hanging out with us, which is fun.
That's incredible. So would you say after you got that off your plate, food tasted better? Colors were vibrant? Or wait, what are you drinking? Would you say that drink is better?
Without a doubt, yes. Colors were more vibrant, yes. So
yeah. So
I'm having a bourbon tonight.
Nice. What kind of bourbon? Give it a plug.
It's an 18-year Knob Creek. I've had it in the past on Nite Cap, so it's very, very smooth, nice, soft Kentucky hug on the way down.
Yeah. JB, Handsome Rob, what are you drinking?
I am starting with Spindrift here, fresh squeezed fruit juice in seltzer water. And then when things get crazy, we're going to fresh squeeze non-alcoholic IPA. So,
hey, those are good.
They are good, aren't they?
Is it athletic? Athletic?
No, I like these better than athletic. I like it because I can have a beer at lunch and not be tired. It actually tastes good. It's full-bodied. It's an adult drink. It's not sweet. It's not like a LaCroix. It's great. I recommend it. There's the plug. Deschutes Fresh Squeeze Non-Alcoholic IPA. Get it today.
I like it.
Get it today. I love it. I'm drinking Rocky Mountain water. I'm almost done.
Ooh.
So if I start dehydrating, I'm going to drop off. Anyways, let's talk about the freelancer trap, right? And how often do we see people struggling from being a hustler to a CEO? And what do they need to do? What's the mindset shift that they need to take? Would you say, dude, buddy? Should we start with you?
Sure. Well, the mindset shift. I mean, we talk about this all the time. I think for those of us who are maybe a little bit of a control freak when it comes to processes and how things should be implemented and how
I
things
feel
should
like you're
occur.
talking like directly to me, not John.
No, I'm talking
When you said
myself.
control freak, like that really hurt for a second. But okay,
You're not a control freak, Mark. No, I'm talking about myself.
I used to be.
Yeah.
I'm a recovering control freak.
Yeah. It's hard to let stuff go when you feel like you need to have your hands in everything, right? Because you just have this fear that things are not going to work as well if you're not doing them. And there's a little bit of a leap of faith that you need to take with a new person or with a new tool. Usually it's people, right? Where you're going to just kind of let them take the reins, and it may not be done perfectly, but the more reps you go through doing all of these different processes, what I've come to find out is that things kind of become a little bit more fine-tuned over time with repetition and frequent meetings and feedback from me to them and them to me, right? And it's just kind of it becomes a well-oiled machine over time when maybe it's a little bit squeaky and rusty to begin with. So there's a little bit of a leap of faith there, just giving them the reins on something, and having that mindset that getting something done is better than it being perfect, like we talk about all the time.
Done is better than perfect. Yeah, I mean, I would say that if they can do it as 80% as well as you,
yeah,
and you get back your time, good enough. Like that's my metric, because I mean, humbly speaking, no one's going to do it as well as me.
Very true.
By the way, I'm totally joking. What you discover is that you'll find people that can do it way better than you, and because they're getting their reps in, you would never want to go back into that role. But when you don't have that perspective, you think because you've been doing it that no one's going to care as much as you, no one's going to do it as well as you, and I'm telling you that's completely false. But you have to experience it for yourself. John Burnett, how about you?
Yeah, I think that's really good. Like I think people have a temptation to try to over-engineer the perfect system before they actually effectively delegate or launch the system itself. And like, I'm a big fan of, there's a book called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. And it's great. I mean, it's just like, basically the idea is like you create a system and then there's pressure and things break, and then you just adjust the system to react to that the next time it happens, and your systems get stronger and stronger and stronger, and your people get stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's a process, and that's important. I think the other thing is, something that I had to realize in my own business in order to effectively delegate, and I took too long to delegate, was that I viewed my time as free, right? And that was a mistake, because I was like, well, I have the time, so why would I delegate this? And then I also didn't recognize the fact that me doing repeatable tasks over and over and over again that I didn't particularly enjoy wasn't actually beneficial to my business. It was burning me out, and as a result, my business was not going in a positive direction, right? And so to delegate actually puts you in a position where you can scale, even if you have the time to focus on those tasks.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think what the scary thing is when you're scaling, and why most entrepreneurs struggle with it, is the temporary dip in your income. You have to stomach it for a temporary amount of time as team begins to not only pay for themselves, actually give you a huge return on time and money and energy. Because if I'm not doing the $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 or $100 an hour task, someone else's, and I can focus my time on $5,000, $10,000, $100,000 tasks, well, the business begins to scale and skyrocket. But I have to be able to temporarily, like, it just doesn't happen overnight, do that. And so to your point, like the processes and the systems and the playbooks, the standard operating procedures are so important, because what will happen, like Scott and I have long-term virtual assistants, and I'm sure he's woken up in a cold sweat like I have. Like, what happens, God forbid, if that person quits or dies, right? We just don't know. Like, there's inherent existential risk if you are really fully putting all your eggs into the person basket instead of the system. And for someone to run that playbook or run that SOP that they've built. So that's also a big challenge in scaling, is making sure that you have that infrastructure in place and that it's always about the system and not the person, even though you need to find and retain great talent. Don't get me wrong, right? We're not building a McDonald's franchise. We're building a business, and people have to, be able to think as well. And so does that make sense? I feel like I've been talking too much. Dude, buddy, why didn't you interrupt me?
No, no, I love it all. I think we've hit that top. I think we've covered that topic, right? Like, you make some short-term sacrifices with maybe your confidence, and maybe your business even takes a slight dip while these efficiencies, while these things become a little bit more efficient, right?
Right.
I'm curious, Mark, though. we see people on the other side of the spectrum who try to scale more quickly, right? So I think we should talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a fine balance. I think that along the spectrum of scaling, you can scale way too slow like I did, or you can try to scale way too fast by paying for every tool in the book and automating every single task and hiring all these people when maybe you're not doing any land deals yet.
Yeah, that part is really frustrating to watch as well, where they don't have the fundamental pieces in place yet to even begin to scale. So slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And what happens is you start scaling. If you don't have those pieces in place, it's like being on a motorcycle, 120 miles per hour, a little pebble can kill you. And in business, there's always little pebbles. So you don't want to be going too fast. Like, growing too slow is a problem, but growing too fast is also a problem. And overspending on tools and people is not good either if the business can't support it. The business needs cash. It needs cash flow. And so you need to be able to reinvest that as well, which I'll give Mike McCallowitz a big plug on Profit First. Fantastic book to manage your cash flow. JB, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like, you want to scale at the right pace, right? You want to do it in line with the actual growth that's happening, and you shouldn't be pushing forward radically when you don't have the experience to effectively justify that. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
No, for sure. So here's the question, and we teach this in flight school, but what is the first thing you should outsource?
John? Me? John?
Either way, whoever's not drinking.
Mine's non-alcoholic, so
okay,
I'll go.
Okay.
I'd say intake manager.
Why do you say that?
Because that it, like, for me, that is the piece that can be, I don't know, I guess the two big things in my mind, well, I guess there's three things. There's intake, there's marketing, and then there's sales, right? So those are the three core pieces. Of the three of those, intake for me was the one that was the most repetitive. You've got extremely consistent variables that you're dealing with. And then it frees up your time to focus more effectively on marketing and sales. And so I guess, and then for me, it just drove me crazy. And so I don't know. I don't have as good of an answer. Let's go to Scott, the bourbon drinker, for the better answer.
Bourbon drinker.
Good buddy.
The only guy on the show.
We need Zano back to, like, nobody wants to drink alone. By the way, right? This is 100 proof vodka. This is Everclear. Not water. We're drinking, man. It's Nite Cap.
Well, so here's what I think about scaling, and I think this is in line with what we teach in flight school. But intake wasn't John's thing, but intake could be somebody else's thing, right? Or maybe marketing wasn't my thing, but marketing could be somebody else's thing. So I think it's more like maybe in the beginning stages, I think it's helpful to outsource the things that you just hate to do, so you don't get burnt out. That would probably be my recommendation. And then, but with the notion that, okay, like a year out or 2 years out, there are all of these things that we want outsourced, right? Like intake manager should be outsourced. A chief marketing officer, sales assistant, bookkeeper, list gatherer, like to move forward with the notion that, okay, in a year or two, all of these things are going to be outsourced. So I have a machine. So I think just to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and maybe, priority list of pain.
I mean, when John was talking, Scott, I really was going to channel John McLaughlin. I'm really aging myself now from the McLaughlin group. He'd be like, wrong. It's not intake manager. Scott Bossman. It's what you hate doing the most. That's what you outsource first. Eleanor, gee, I think you're Swellinor. Anyways, like two people are going to get this joke.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyways, besides the bad jokes, but what Scott was saying is really true. And for John, and John was just highlighting what he hated to do the most.
Yeah.
But I think most people, after you've heard the 20-second story from that seller, why they bought the property, what they were going to do with the property, why they're selling the property, you're like, I get it. Okay. This is someone else's time that's better spent than mine. And I could be doing more productive things. You want to do that intake manager. But there are some people that love connecting with sellers. Mm-hmm. And they might hate marketing, and they might even hate sales, and say that they would outsource that first. So I didn't want to shame JB with his answer because he's partially correct. Yeah. But Scott, you are absolutely correct.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I learned from the best.
John's like, I'm going to a shame spiral right now.
It's okay. On a live stream. I'm pulling out the bourbon now, Mark. I've got a
I don't blame you. There's 10 million people live right now.
When you see John stand up and walk into the lake, Mark, you've done too much.
I've gone too far.
Yeah,
I've gone too far.
So
yeah,
prevent that from happening.
So, how about managing a remote team? What are the challenges doing that? How do you guys think about that, and what sort of communication cadence or things you do in place to make this team feel like a team, even though they might be all around the world in different time zones? JB, let's start with you, because whatever you say, then Scott and I can actually one up it.
Yeah, I'll give the bad answer, and then we're gonna move to Scott. So that'll be the process. So,
by the way, don't tell Val I said any of this. I don't want her mad at me.
She's gonna agree with you. She's gonna be like, "Well, what did Scott say?"
Yeah, right.
No, let's see. I'm trying to remember the question now. At this point, I'm just thinking about how bad my answers are. The challenges of communicating with
the team.
So I think that a few things are important. Like one thing is it's tempting also to be set it and forget it with the team. You find somebody and somebody says like, I know how to do this, and I'll just set it up for you. And you're like, great. and then you talk to them 3 weeks later and realize that nothing good came of it and you spent a lot of money, right? So you can't be set it and forget it. I found like a really helpful cadence for me is for core people to meet with them on a weekly basis. And I just do like messy delegation meetings where I'm like, all right, we are going to take an hour. And at the end of the hour, you're going to have more things on your plate than at the start of the hour. And we're going to just build our SOPs while we go, right? And there's going to be awkward pauses while I'm typing and figuring stuff out. But by the end, you're going to do that. And then we come back and we revisit and see what's going well, what's not. But I think that's really helpful. Communicating, like tools like Slack are great just for being able to communicate with your team. Periodic just appreciation. You know, I have somebody who's fantastic at customer service. And I like to just, she's one of those people where I never want her to leave. so, you know, I'll send her a periodic bonus or something like that and just say how grateful I am. And those types of things go a long way. And so I think just communicating gratitude, because it is easy, especially when people are working remotely, for it to just kind of slowly drift to autopilot and the communication to wane. And it's important, like if you do appreciate somebody and what they're doing, you should let them know, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make me a bad person that I really like to like try to find something wrong in John's answer and I can't. And
that was a really good answer. It was a really good answer.
It was a really good answer.
That's great.
And I really think that, you know, you playing the long game with your team and infusing into the culture this gratitude, catching people doing things right as opposed to catching them doing it wrong. And oftentimes I think that people do become, you know, you get used to it, right? Or you assume erroneously that because I'm paying this person, they should just do a good job. And that's just part of the job. And we're all motivated by different things, but when you find that person who has that intrinsic motivation, they want to do a good job for the sake of doing a good job, and you recognize that and you bonus it, you give them gratitude, they see what you're seeing, they are that behavior just keeps getting reinforced again and again and again. And then when other people on the team see it in Slack, they want the accolades as well. So they're going to put emotional labor in. They're going to go above and beyond. So, John, phenomenal answer.
Thank
I'm
you.
so grateful that you're able to give us that wisdom.
I know. Now let's go to Scott, and he'll give you the even better answer. It's going to be great.
No. I don't. I can't outdo that one. I love what you had to say. I think, yes, gratitude is very important with these folks, helping them feel like they're a part of the team, right? And just frequent communication, and however you choose to do that. I think it really depends. Sometimes it depends on the VA. Like if you're hiring a new sales assistant, you may want to be on call a little bit more when you're first doing that, right? So maybe Voxer is a better approach where you can shoot some messages back and forth really quickly. You know, if things are a little bit more streamlined and more finely tuned, you know, I think a tool like Slack is a great tool for communicating with your VAs. So frequent communication and accolades given, I think are really important.
No, 100%. I think, you know, the Scott Todd rule of 30-to-1 ratio is really important to know, where
I like that. Yeah.
If let's say a task takes you 5 minutes to do, then you're willing to invest 150 minutes with that new team member to get them trained up to do it the way that you did it, so that it only takes them 5 minutes. And then if it takes them longer or they're still not getting it, you can go to bed at night and be like, okay, this person's just not in the right role. And it's okay. But so often we get impatient and we think, from day one, well, they should just be able to follow my SOP. I don't need to give any more context or whatever it is. And they should be able to do the task in 5 minutes. And that's not the case. And so what's interesting is that what we've been working on with our team is, as we've grown and we've scaled, is, number one, you need to have an org chart. Like, the person needs to know who they're reporting to, number one. Number two, there needs to be that visibility, that accountability. So depending on the role, either an end of day report with a series of questions that they have to fill out, or an end of week report and what they did. And then give them feedback on it. Show the gratitude, point out where they're doing a great job, and do that. But otherwise, if you're not doing that, you're not holding somebody accountable, then you've abdicated. You haven't delegated as well. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be you, right? But in the beginning, it's you as the CEO, and even a daily stand-up of 5, 10, 15 minutes with a team is a good idea. Hey, we're a team. What are you gonna do today? What are the 3 things that you're gonna accomplish today? Great. How about you? Great. What about you? Great. At the end of the day, I want to see how far you got on those tasks. Fantastic. Break, right? And that really creates this cohesive bond, but it also allows you as the CEO the visibility into what everybody's doing day to day. And you can see the inefficiencies as well. Not doing that, you're kind of flying blind, especially as you're scaling. JB, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think reporting, I've really liked using Slack a lot. And so we'll have, like, when tasks come in, we'll have them automatically thrown into Slack, and people react with a checkbox, or people react like just claiming certain tasks. And so there's just visibility. Like, it's important, you can get into this point where, like, I don't know, people just naturally default to, like, if you don't show care of whether or not they complete a task to the standard that you hold them to, if you don't show that you actually care about that, then people, even good people, like, the quality of their output will gradually decline over time. And so it's important that there's visibility and communication throughout that. And yeah, I like that. The daily stand-ups, weekly meetings have been great for me. And just like, we'll do a Google Doc and just have a checklist. Like, these are the items that are on your to-do list for this week. And then we have that same Google Doc. We pull it up the next week and we just say, like, did everything happen? Right. And so it just provides that accountability and an opportunity to just check in and identify any pain points.
No, 100%. That's so good. And it's so simple. You don't have to be, a tech geek. You can just open up a simple Google Doc and just keep adding to that doc, and everyone's rowing in the same direction, which is great. Dude, buddy, should we pivot?
Well, I think we could get to some questions in the group and some comments, and interact with some folks who maybe need some help or some guidance. How's that sound?
That sounds amazing, for sure. I mean, I can't see how many millions of people are on with us live.
Good gazillions. Yeah.
When
we are, you know what? Week one, we have a ton of people watching, so we gotta build back up to that.
Yeah.
But we do have a couple comments. Here's one comment that maybe we can help with this person. Time is their name. That's probably not their name, but their statement is this: I honestly don't know where to start, even after putting money into programs for help. Me and my husband have one property, but we're not sure where to go from here. So, I think that's kind of a broad question, because there could be a lot of things wrong, right? I think when you see a question like that, we have to diagnose what's wrong, right? So,
if I had to guess, right, and speculate, so they put time in, they bought one property, and they're working in their business, And I would say, like, hey, embrace the suck at this point in your juncture and in your journey, where you've got to get the reps in. What's the expectation? Now, if you told me you've been working in your land business for a year and you've bought one property, well, I'd have a lot more questions. But if you just started, then you just started, and you have one property. We're not sure to go from here. I would say keep your deal flow going and sell that property and market that property. And while you're doing that, start building an infrastructure to get yourself out of the business. So you don't want to build yourself a job. You want to build yourself a business. And everything that you're doing, start creating standard operating procedures. So if you're going to get a county list, go to Loom and create a video of you doing the work. Now take that Loom and upload it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, watch this Loom video and create a simple standard operating procedure and pretend I'm write it at a 5th grade level, right? And start from there. And then start going through each process of the business to the point where you feel very confident that, okay, I've done the work, I know what it takes, and now I've created playbooks or standard operating procedures for each aspect of the business so I can start building team and get myself out of it. I don't think it's necessarily too early to start that, but if, again, as we said, like, you don't want to scale too fast. You want to get your infrastructure and your fundamentals in place, and you got to get your reps in. That would be my answer. JB, do you disagree?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it just kind of, the other thing is just to do the next thing, like for me, every time I remember jumping into this business, and every time I did the next thing and jumped into a new phase of my business, there's like a pit in my gut, right? Like you're nervous about it. I remember standing by the mailbox, right, with a stack of mailers in my hand, and throwing them in there was like the craziest thing, right? And then you get a response, and then you have to hop on the phone with somebody, and the same thing, you get that pit in your gut. And if you've got property, you need to market, right? And so go on Facebook Marketplace and put out an ad. And I've got a friend who he's new to the land investing business, and he was in a similar spot. He had a property, and he went to boot camp and asked Tate what he should do. And Tate said, you need to have an ad up by tomorrow. And so he stayed up super late and put out this ad, and he sold the property, right? And he did off of that ad, right? Like, so that was great. It doesn't always happen that way, but you just have to do it. You have to market it and take that next step and just keep on pushing forward.
Yeah. You've got to be impatient with your actions and patient with your results. And so as long as you know the next right thing, what action to take, and keep doing that, the results are going to happen. Now, they may not happen as fast as John's buddy, right? But they're inevitably going to happen, because after doing this over 6,500 times, I've never been stuck with a piece of raw land. They all sell. There's a pig for every barn, but you need to prove that for yourself, and you need to go through the steps. And so I think what's great about what they were doing is, like, they smart cut it. They went to a program. You can go on YouTube videos and try to figure this out yourself. But I think going through a step-by-step program, following a recipe, is a smart cut. It's a great investment of your time and energy and resources. Dude, buddy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think simply it's just all about momentum, right? So you have one property right now. Let's get more. How do you get more? Well, you mail, or you possibly buy a property wholesale, or you possibly buy a property land arb. Like, see if you can get a couple more properties in your inventory. That will create a little bit more momentum. And then, market, right? It's mailing and marketing. So if you're down if you're down in the dumps a little bit about how your business is doing today, ask yourself 2 questions. Did you mail today? If so, think of it as making money, because if, like, that's how I think of it. Like when I used to go to the mailbox and drop the mail, drop 100 letters in, I'm like, okay, I'm making money here, which you are if your pricing's right.
Right.
So are you mailing and making money in that sense, and are you marketing to make money in that sense? And I think it's just, I think we can so often get lost in all of the details of this thing, right? When maybe we just need to keep it simple and dial back and just do the two things that matter today. And that'll lead to success down the road.
I love that.
So
I love that.
I have a question. So I think we should talk about this, Mark. So we have a question from Marcia Wright, the best realtor in Douglasville, Georgia. Her question is
the best realtor in Douglasville, Georgia. She's famous.
She's famous.
Wow,
like
we gotta get on the show.
Is your program based off sending mailers to acquire land? It is, and I think we should talk about why that still works, because a lot of people out there kind of poo-poo the direct mailing, right?
Sure.
Like, it's working, right?
It works. So, okay, the response rate, if you get your pricing right, should be 3 to 5%. So for every 100 offers you make, 3 to 5 should respond. Now, if it's under 3%, you came in too low to the market. If it's over 5%, you probably came in too high. But as far as deal flow is concerned, right, we're going to get a list of all the real property owners in that county. We're going to scrub that list. We're going to get rid of the commercial property and the industrial property, and all the things that are not vacant land. So like let's just use a quick and dirty way of doing this by use code VL for vacant land, right? So now we're just vacant land. Then we're going to do another scrub. So assessor's parcel number by subdivision. Because if I send somebody an offer with 40 acres, the same as 1 acre, the 40-acre parcel person is going to send me back glitter in the mail, right? So now we've done that. It's a very efficient way to get to the owners of the property who are sick of paying taxes. They're not going out the property. They're not emotionally attached to the property. And you're making an offer. Now, they know, okay, this is somebody who wants to buy the property. How many times have we seen it where in traditional real estate, the offer is, hey, I'm interested in buying your house. Well, now you're in the appraisal game, and that's taking a lot of time, right? And so the philosophy being, we can always make more money, we can't get more time. And so this cuts through all the noise, because when's the last time you picked up your phone? I don't pick up the phone. I don't know if someone's calling me, go straight to voicemail. But I get the mail every day. And oftentimes I'll open the mail, and it's becoming less and less actually. But if you think about it like a credit card company, they're still sending those offers. And one day you're going to take
You're going to open it.
You're going to open it. You don't know when. So to Scott's point, it's like a little lottery ticket every time you do the mailing. You just never know who you're going to get. You can get them on the right time or day. But also, like the way I started was going to tax deed auctions. And I was in a competitive bidding situation with a bunch of people in the room trying to buy lots. Now I'm avoiding all the competition. I'm going straight to the person who owns it. JB, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I concur, as Mike would say.
I concur. Yeah.
No, and I mean, what I like about mail too is that it is like, so A, it works, like you said, Mark, and then B, like, there's a flexibility in mail as a marketing medium that you don't have in others, right? If you're doing cold calling, if you're doing texting, if you're doing like other medium or other media as far as marketing is concerned, there's an immediacy of response that is required. Those are flash in the pan leads. With mail leads, that's not the case, right? And as you're building out this business, right, you need that flexibility. If you're working a full-time job, you can't just like pick up your phone and like and respond to these leads. And so, you know, I like mail. It works, A, and B, you can get back to somebody in a day and it's fine, right? Which isn't the case if with these other marketing sources. It's not that they don't work. It's just that it's not It's not a good entry point, I think.
Right. And look, I think maybe a year, 2 years from now, maybe we're all using AI agents and they're cold calling owners. And maybe that beats direct mail. But again, like, what's the JB, like, besides your kids and your wife, are you picking up the phone?
No. I mean, no. I don't want to talk to people.
No one wants to talk to
you,
anybody.
Mark.
You'll talk to me. Yeah, but you probably even screen my calls. Like,
yeah. I mean,
that 480 number. Forget it.
Just most of them. That's good.
Yeah. Scott, what about you? Do you pick up the phone?
No, sir. Nope.
Yeah.
Not picking up the phone.
Now, text messaging, SMS, not a bad strategy, but it's a little dicey because you gotta play within the rules, right? You can't just cold SMS people.
And I would say, I would say, I think if you took a poll of 10 people in a room, people get more annoyed with junk text messages on their phone than they do mail.
100% they do. Yeah.
Like I'm reporting junk every text message I get.
Yeah, 100% they do.
Yeah.
It's such an intrusion. Where mail, it's not that big a deal. It's
it's normal.
It's normal. We're normalized by it. It's not as intrusive. It takes a second to recycle it. Yeah. Where the phone is sort of a different thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to pick up. Good question though.
Very good question, and it's still working. It's been working.
It's
been working for that guy for 25 years. Mark Post. I'm turning into my grandma over here, saying all the names. Okay, here's a question from Devin. Well, this will be real quick. So we're not going to get into how you write a contract for owner financing when it comes to all the minutia, but can we default buyers if they quit paying?
Whoa.
Yes. And how quick can you do it?
This is like a City Slickers question. Scoop of chocolate, scoop of vanilla. Don't waste my time. Of course. Of course you can default.
Yeah, So it's built right into the contract, right? So this is another reason land is so easy. This is the reason we love to buy the land at a deep discount and control the land for the life of the loan. Because if the buyer defaults, we take it back, and it's very simple. We take it back with a certified letter in the mail, and then we'll turn around and sell it again, right?
Yeah, great answer.
We have a comment from Thomas. He's sitting here in the parking lot waiting on a ride. He wishes he was at home watching this and moving forward with his business. But nope, awesome, solo Thomas. Economic dependency is his life right now. But hey, you're here, Thomas.
You're here, Thomas. I mean, that's the thing is like, I think is it Oliver Wendell Holmes's quote, "A mind once expanded cannot go back to its original form."
You make Nite Cap too fancy.
Yeah.
Did you hear me? You make this show way too fancy. Like this is
Mark's bringing Oliver Wendell Holmes into his answers.
All right. Well, Zeno's going to be like
next week. We're kicking you off at the 30-minute mark.
For sure you are, and I deserve it. By the way, this has been a treat for me.
We're coming up on an hour, and we do have a couple announcements.
Okay.
So first, for those watching, for the thousands watching, go to the comments and fill out the Google form, and you can be eligible to win signed copies of Dirt Rich 1 and Dirt Rich 2. And I should announce we have some winners from last week, so I'm going to announce who those people are right now. And those people are, hold on, drum roll please. The Nite Cap giveaway, 3 winners from last week. Richard Lionheart. Ooh, that's a
great name.
That is a great name.
Tiffany Riley and
Tiffany.
Devin Hendricks.
Let's go.
So congratulations to you guys for winning signed copies of Dirt Rich. And I'll remind you once again, Mark, that I do not have a signed copy of Dirt Rich.
I
Either
entered the
John-
drawing last week. I'm just waiting. I figure if I
Yeah,
enter
yeah.
every week, I'm bound to win sometime.
I did not
Yeah.
know this.
And then here's
I'm
another very
happy.
exciting announcement. So
Yeah.
on March 25th, is it 25th? What's today? Today's the 11th, 3/11 day. So yeah, March 25th, we're doing a giveaway, a live giveaway, Mark, on Nite Cap.
What are we
Do you
giving
even know
away?
what we're giving away?
I have no idea. No one tells me anything.
We are giving away, hold on, I got to make sure I get this right. We are giving away 2 years free LG Pass and Geek Pay.
Are we really?
That's what I was
Who
told.
approved that?
Hey,
That's
I'm
like
just the
$2,000.
messenger.
That's like a $2,000 giveaway.
It's a $2,400 giveaway.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So
We're
we're gonna
shutting the
have some
show down today. And
What's
Nite
that?
Cap is done. Thank you all for showing up.
Hey, this costs nothing, man.
Mark
This
over
costs
delegated
nothing.
here.
Wow. All right, I'm happy to do it. So just for those who don't understand what those softwares do, LG Pass is a customer relationship management software that actually manages your whole business in your deal flow and then also automates the contracts. GeekPay.io is a set and forget it payment system so that you can collect your down payment and then collect your monthly payments on an automatic basis. So you don't have to deal with spreadsheets. You don't have to deal with the math. You can charge interest. You can have penalties. It's actually a profit center. It's the only software I know that actually makes you money because you can charge a note collection fee. You can charge a note setup fee. And that's for those of you that don't win the free software. GeekPay actually makes you money. But for the person that actually ends up getting it for free, it really makes you money.
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
That's really exciting.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, I can see why no one told me. But that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna quadruple the attendance on this call that night. Quintuple.
Quintuple.
Easy.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I think that's all I have, and we're coming up on an hour. Any final words, Mark? Any tip of the week?
You know what my tip of the week is going to be?
What?
I think my tip of the week is going to be really look at what you're doing, and is it bringing you closer to your goal, or is it bringing you further away? And so, do you want freedom? Do you want to work when you want, where you want, with whom you want? And if you do, have you looked at different passive income models? I don't care which one you pick, personally. I'm totally agnostic. I think ours is the best and the simplest because it's a one-time sale, and then we get recurring passive income every single month without any renters, rehabs, renovations, or rodents. But if you're stuck in total economic dependency, what are you doing to solve not just your money problems, but your time problems? And to have that freedom to live your best life, to be at John Burnett and go visit with your 23 children and be on a lake and have that freedom to be on Nite Cap, right? And do what you want to do in life. Or, dude buddy Scott Bossman, who still can go into the clinic because he wants to, not because he has to help people solve their pain in physical therapy because he loves to do it, but not because he has to do it. And for me, there's nothing better than being available to my family. I never missed an activity. I was there to take them to school, pick them up from school, read them bedtime stories, do all those things, and having borrowers paying for my life. And I could get sick. I could go on vacations. I have total freedom to live the life that I want to live. And if you're not doing that, what actions are you taking? What steps are you taking to remedy that for yourself? I'd say that would be something to leave Nite Cap with, as far as like, yeah, we can build a 7-figure empire with just $5,000. That's great, right? But what's your why? What do you really want out of life? And what are you doing to get it?
Cheers to that.
Cheers. That was great.
Cheers.
That was awesome, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Oh, you're gonna love this one next week, Mark. We know you love this topic. Cash flow versus quick flips.
Oh, I love it.
I love that topic. So
yeah,
that'll be a good topic next week. All
Thank
right, everybody.
Let's
talk to you later.
Freedom ring.
Let freedom ring.
Let it ring.
Night.